A second discovering Doctor Who in 1 week? What is this madness? Well, just so you know, any of you that are watching this, if you're watching this the week that it comes out, I have a special announcement, or well, an important announcement at the end of this video, so you can either click here on an annotation real quick to go to the end, or just hang around, and I'll see you after the break. Hello everyone and welcome to a brand new episode of Discovering Doctor Who. Today I'm going to be talking about the episode The Fires of Pompeii. We're really getting into the meat of the 4th season series now, and this one was such an improvement over the previous episode, which I was kind of iffy on, but this one, in my opinion, completely made up for what the last one was lacking in plot and story, in my opinion. So let's get right into it. My first favorite part about this episode was when Donna discovers the TARDIS's translation abilities, because she comments on how she's able to read everything in English and everyone is speaking English, and just the kind of giddiness she gets from that. And I found it interesting that it actually took her, I forget how long it took Rose and even Martha to remember this, but I think it happened sooner than, 3 episodes in, which, this is technically Donna's 3rd episode. So I just found that really funny, and I really like that, because it's always interesting to see how the companion reacts to learning about the translations and everything. So that actually leads me into the second favorite part of this episode, which was when Donna wanted to find out what it would sound like, or how it sounds to the people speaking Latin if she says Latin words. And that led into one of the best running jokes of the episode, in my opinion, which was just every time they spoke Latin, it sounded, or to the people of Pompeii, it sounded like Celtic, or a Celtic language, which if for some reason you haven't watched the episode, it's definitely much funnier to witness it as it's going on, because the timing is just great, and it's just, like I said, a really good running joke throughout this episode. I really like that, and I hope to see more humor like that in the future. Not too constant, but just enough to throw a little jab in there, just to make it fun. Now, my third favorite part about this episode, Doctor? If he's not the Doctor, but he is, I feel like I've heard about actually I'm sure that I've read about this sort of, not exactly controversy, but this little situation where the new Doctor, the 12th Doctor, or maybe he's technically the 13th, I can't remember, but the new Doctor was portrayed in a previous episode, which is apparently this one. So I'm interested to see how that's going to play out once I finally do get caught up with the series, if they're even going to address it. I don't know, there's different ways they could go about it. I'm sure they didn't really foresee that kind of situation happening, because I doubt they really expected at the time that actor would end up being a future incarnation of the Doctor. But I just thought that was really interesting, and I didn't know what episode that fell on, and just to see him there all of a sudden, I was just kind of like, oh, okay. So this is going to be a long-term thing, but I'm really interested to see how and if they'll actually make that connection there and sort of bridge the gap in between this episode and whatever happens in the future. Now, my fourth favorite part about this episode was the seers themselves. I was kind of on the wall about them at first. I thought it was, the whole psychic thing was kind of weird, but as I finished the episode, I reflected back on them, and I found the characters to be interesting. The fact that these powers weren't actual innate powers, but brought on by supernatural forces, or, well, alien forces, technically. But I don't know, I just thought it was really interesting the way the seers were portrayed, the hands that were drawn on the eyes that were drawn on their hands, and just the whole telepathic link there. It was just really interesting, and when we finally get to see, I can't remember what they referred to her as, but basically the lead seer, and we find out that she's being almost completely possessed by the Pyrovile creature, is almost entirely stone and is in constant pain. That was just really, I don't know, when I saw that, I just felt it was really powerful, that even though, like, this was obviously not a good thing happening to this woman, she believed in these gods so much that she was willing to go through pain and just this horrible pain of being turned to the stone creature just to appease the gods, or to follow those gods' will. I just thought that was really interesting, and kind of strange in a way. It's like there's a lot of commentary that could really go on about that, but I'm not going to go into that much detail on just this one episode. Maybe another day if someone reminds me. But my fifth favorite part about this episode is sort of a combination of things. And I basically wrote it down as Pompeii, the Doctor, Donna, and the survivors. Just the way this entire episode worked together. Is like, earlier in the episode, the Doctor makes the joke about how he wasn't responsible for the fire that burned down Rome. And he's like, oh, well, kind of. But then we find out that in a horrible twist of fate, he is responsible for Pompeii being destroyed, for the volcano erupting. And it's in order to, like, it's that choice between having to save the entire world or having to save these 20,000 people, which are right there, right then. And it would be a horrible choice to make, especially if you've been around some of these people. And then Donna. I mean, I love Donna's attitude. It's like, I really find like her quirky, her funny side to be really fun and entertaining, and I really like her. But then this very caring, very deep side of her comes out, and she doesn't even really snap the Doctor out of anything, but she just basically forces him or talks him into going back and saving just those few people, just that one family, sparing them this horrible, horrible fate that the rest of the 20,000 people have to suffer. And then the scene right afterward, where all of them are on the hills looking over Pompeii, and it's just such a powerful, powerful scene, and probably one of the most powerful in Doctor Who to this point for me. Yeah, just the way everything worked together just really made this episode a great one for me. And what that actually brings me to my final favorite part about this episode, and it's really the last thing we see in this episode. And it's when we see the new house gods, and it's a inscription, or basically a carving of the Doctor, the TARDIS, and Donna. And I just think that that's an amazing concept, especially with some of the discussion that's been taking place in the comments, and even some of my internal commentary about episodes past, where it's like, the concept of the Doctor being a Time Lord and at times sort of acquiring the powers of a god, like at the end of The Last of the Time Lords. I just thought that was really interesting, and just the idea that, or at least for me, the question, will that carry over? Will that have an effect on future episodes? Will the beginning of that mythology, these new house gods that are that are the Doctor and Donna Noble, will there be further myths of them in the future, given episodes that take place on Earth or even elsewhere? Will the myth continue to follow them? I'm really intrigued to see if anything like that happens. Now, to talk about some of my annoyances with this episode, and admittedly there are very few. I felt like this was a rather strong episode overall, but just to talk about the few annoyances I did have, the first one is the Pyroviles themselves. The concept of the creatures is really interesting. The idea that there is this basically civilization of magma creatures, well, rock magma creatures, that crashed to Earth thousands of years ago. I just thought I thought it was interesting, but then we have these, like, well, the Pyroviles, we have these, like, I'm just going to call them golems, these golems, like, coming out of the ground and burning people and all this, and it's just, is there really a point to that? Because I know that, you know, the Doctor and Donna are kind of throwing a wrench in some of the works, and the big overlord seer, I don't even remember what his name is, it's like, you know, he's worried about them ruining the plan, which admittedly they do end up doing, but I don't know, it's just, I feel like the Pyroviles would have been sort of more foreboding and more mysterious had they just been living as the dust, which they technically were. It's like when the seers would breathe in the ashes or breathe in the fumes, they're technically breathing in these particles of the Pyroviles, which allowed them to obtain these psychic powers, which somehow the Pyroviles unlocked. I'm still not entirely sure about how that worked, but I feel like had they stuck to more of that, and maybe have a few Pyroviles appear within the volcano by itself, that would have been more effective, and it would have added more intrigue to it for me. But the way they handled it, while not bad technically, could have been done a lot better. Again, just in my opinion. Let me know what you think about that, but I wasn't completely satisfied with the way these Pyroviles came about, I guess. Now, my second annoyance with this episode was the escape pod. And it doesn't, I don't know, it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me that these, even though the volcano erupting did kill the Pyroviles, what use do they really have for an escape pod if, except for, you know, the Doctor and Donna interfering, they really didn't have anything to interfere with the plan. It's just like, it's the escape pod just seems so out of place, and unless I'm thinking wrong, I don't think it was actually large enough to fit any of the Pyroviles, unless they're able to, like, shrink down into really small rocks somehow. It just didn't seem like something that would be effective for any of the Pyroviles to use. I don't expect that the leader guy, what was his name? Lucius. I don't expect that he really knew about the escape pod, and even if he did, I don't know that he would know how to use it. I don't know, just the escape pod, while important to get Donna and the Doctor out of there, just seemed kind of out of place. I don't know, maybe I'm remembering that part wrong. Maybe it did serve, like, you know, well, it did serve as the point to where they were able to destroy the volcano, but if that's where they were able to destroy the volcano, which the Pyroviles had no actual intention of doing, why would the escape pod, I don't know, maybe I'm overthinking this, but it just, that was one of the probably major plot issues that I had with really this entire episode, was just that didn't make complete sense to me. It seemed a little bit unstructured, it seemed a little bit nonsensical. But it worked out in the end, and again, overall, it's really a minor issue in the long run in what was an overall really good episode. And now my quote of the episode is actually, as I'm reading it, it's basically what's his name, Lucius's line as the Doctor and Donna are sort of replying to them. I'm not going to read their parts out loud, just his parts, because I feel as a whole it makes this very creepy, disturbing monologue. And the quote from Lucius is this: "Is that so, man from Gallifrey? The strangest of images, your home is lost in fire, is it not? And you, daughter of London. It is the gift of Pompeii. Every single oracle tells the truth. Doctor, she is returning. And you, daughter of London, there is something on your back." Now, obviously, you need to be able to, hear the replies for that to make complete sense, but I just feel like that what he was saying right there was just so... that was the first time that any of the seers in this episode just really gave me that whoa feeling. Like, how is he? How does he know all this? How do they know all of this? That was just... I really liked that. And once you, add back in the lines from the Doctor and Donna, it just makes for a really good scene. And one of those I'm actually going to come back to in a minute. But overall, my thoughts on this episode, as I said before, I felt like it was a pretty strong episode overall. It's not one of my favorites by any regard, but it was definitely an improvement over the last one, in my opinion. Better story overall. Some of the wonky things, some things that kind of bother me, which it's pretty much common in any of these episodes. But yeah, overall I really liked it, and it has me ready to see more. I'm ready to see more of how the Doctor and Donna's friendship continues to grow, and how they continue to grow respect for each other, which at the end of this episode, when he basically, accepts her onto the TARDIS officially, I guess you would say, that was really powerful, and I really like that. And we get to see more of a we got to see more of a serious side to Donna, and I really like that. We've definitely seen the serious side of her before, but basically a serious side of her that was really snark-free. Like, she wasn't being snarky, she wasn't being jokey, she was just dead-on serious to the point of crying. And that was just awesome. That emotion at the end of the episode just really made the ending truly powerful for me. And now to bring this to a close, before I mention the sort of special announcement, the one thing that I question about this episode. Now, when Lucius was talking to them, he refers to Doctor, she is returning. Now, obviously, from the last episode, he's referring to Rose. But then, when he talks to Donna and says that you have something on your back, I can only assume that whatever it is something that will be revealed in a future episode. But I'm curious what this could be. Like, I don't know, over the past year or so, has someone that is also looking for the Doctor put a tracker on her? Maybe the Master found out who she was when the Doctor was away from Earth, and Donna just never knew it. I don't know. It's just something really intriguing and really interesting. I'm just really looking forward to finding out what in the world he's talking about. There is something on your back. No idea. Okay, and just to let you all know about the little announcement I have. Again, for any of you that might be worried, there's nothing bad going on, but the day that this video will be released, I'm actually going on vacation with my wife, and we're going to really enjoy our time. And just so you all know, I will reply to any comments you might leave as best as I can, but chances are that for the most part I'm not going to be around computers very much. I'll probably have my phone around, but the ability to reply and interact through my phone is a bit limited at times. So, you know, no guarantees about replying, but I will do my best to reply to everyone when I get back. And also, next, I'm going to schedule it for Tuesday. Next Tuesday, that would be the 20th. I won't be back at that point, but there will be another very special video going up that I hope all of you will watch. I'd like to hear any input you all have about that. I'm not going to reveal what it is, because it's something very important and honestly rather personal for me. So, any of you that watch that, thank you very much. But once again, that will be coming out same time, basically at noon Central Standard Time, on Tuesday the 20th. No wait, not the 20th. Tuesday the 26th. Yes, Tuesday the 26th is when it will be going out. But anyway, everyone, thank you very much for watching this episode, Discovering Doctor Who. Thank you all so much for continuing to support the channel. For those of you that are new subscribers, as we're continuing to get closer and closer to 500. Just like on the day I'm recording this, it jumped up by 2 within the past hour, which was absolutely amazing to me. But everyone, you're amazing. Thank you all so much. And although there will be a bit of a delay between this and the next Discovering Doctor Who episode, I hope you're looking forward to the next one, which will be Planet of the Ood. And I may just be able to record some video while I'm away. Who knows? We'll see. But anyway, everyone, see you next time on the next Discovering Doctor Who. Alonzi!